Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the Taino Funhouse podcast. Subject today is show number 3 regarding Taino history. And we're going way back in time, and I'm taking Natalie with me. We're going way back. We're going back to 1492, November. That's right, November of 1492. We're going to summarize the whole month. And Natalie, are you from Cuba? I heard some rumors you're from there.
Yeah, that's where my mother was born there. That's where my Taino heritage comes from. My mom was born in an area like in kind of in central Cuba called the province is called Villa Clara. And I also have some relatives further east where most of the modern Taino population or like people with the most Taino heritage still live out in like the eastern part, Santiago de Cuba, and actually that's where the Cacique Panchito and the Rojas Ramirez clan and the Caridad de los Indios still is out in that area. So yeah, Cuba is definitely my homeland in terms of my heritage, my motherland. Um, Beautiful place. Definitely wish I could go back more often, but it's a bit difficult now. But oh man, what a place to visit.
Oh, that would be so cool, man. And according to my 23andMe account, I actually have some Cuban blood.
Oh yeah?
So yeah, man. It's funny because in 23andMe it says I have Taino blood, right? Or what
Hmm.
bloodlines, lineage, right? Cuba.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about Dominican Republic, but in Jet Match, which is another company,
Hmm.
they say I have Dominican uh
All right. Yeah. Well,
DNA.
we know sometimes I think they it's hard to distinguish between with the heritages in the Greater Antilles Islands, right? Because it looks it's very very similar. And they're trying to, basically split hairs and tell you exactly where you're from. But we know that
Mm.
the Taino traveled a lot themselves between the islands and everything, right? So it's very possible that, somebody from one island was ended up somewhere else.
Yeah, well, my theory, just doing my own research with those three companies, Ancestry.com as well,
Hmm.
and it's not perfect indicator, but the thing is, my lineage, according to 23andMe, is A2 haplogroup, A2, which
Hmm.
comes from the Cuba, comes from the Mayan, the peninsula. What is it?
Yucatan Peninsula, yeah,
The
which is right.
Yucatan.
It's very, very close to the most western part of Cuba. And I actually have a very little bit, my lineage, a bit Yucatan Peninsula as well. And it
There you
actually,
go.
it makes sense when you look at how close they are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be
So,
Mayan territory right there.
yeah, so my theory is that I came from the east, I mean the west, and ended up in Borinquen.
They just kept going, going, going.
Yeah, because it seems like I don't have much of the South American DNA that came
Hmm.
from Orinoco River, but I do have a lot from the West, which is my North American. So
Yeah, mine are all Yucatan and Cuba as well.
there you go, man. So for me, I want to jump on that bandwagon, yo. I want to go on that Cuban Express. Move, I leave it right here, baby. We're gonna go back
Right,
to Cuba.
exactly.
So let's go to November 1492. Now there's some points we're gonna discuss for all you out there who are listening. Once again, thank you for downloading this show on YouTube. Man, without you, we can't have a show. Hey, my birds are singing it. Hey, what's up? Can you hear them? I
Ah,
think they want.
just like the Admiral talks about, right? Hearing all the birds.
Yeah, that's right. They want to come to Cuba too. All right, man, guys, come on. You heard
Yeah, I can hear them.
it? So basically, there's 5 points we're going to talk about. The first one for all you out there who are watching and taking notes, we're going to talk about Christopher Columbus's, and I know he's not a nice guy. We're gonna we're gonna pick his mind a little bit, what he was thinking when he went to Cuba, okay, in 1492. So there is, or you have it out there, Natalie. There is a quote that he
Yeah.
mentions about Cuba,
Uh,
and
Yeah,
Went
it's
to.
it looks like so he's talking it's Columbus and also his admiral, like his ship admiral, who he
Mhm.
records a lot of his feelings and his thoughts as well, or things that the admiral has told him. Um I have the quote here. I think it's page
Go ahead.
87 of Columbus's journal, and he
Go
says
for it.
all along the coast there are very high and beautiful mountains, not arid or rocky, but all accessible and very lovely. The valleys, like the mountains, were full of tall and fine trees, so that it was a glory to look upon them, and there seemed to be so many pines. Also, beyond the said Cabo de Pico, to the southeast, there are two inlets, each about 2 leagues round, and inside them three excellent havens and two large rivers. Along the whole coast, no inhabitants were visible. But yeah, so he's talking about the trees and the mountains and how beautiful it is. Um, and he's talking about hearing these birds too. That's why I mentioned your birds there and
There you
how
go. The birds. See, now they're quiet.
yeah, yeah. It's he says the mountains are very high, whence descend many limpid streams, and all the hills are covered with pines and an infinity of diverse and beautiful trees. Two or three other rivers were not visited. He says, and then he's talking about how the admiral's describing all this in as much detail, and then he says he declared that it's it's so beautiful and there's so much there that he derived it an unspeakable joy and pleasure at seeing it all, most especially the pines and the trees, because they enable as many ships as is desired to be built here. So he's talking about, oh, it's beautiful and look at all these trees, but he's also thinking ahead, going, these trees mean we can build ships out of them, right? And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, he's already claiming some desire to stay on that, man. Well, I mean, you would have, man. It's a beautiful place in the neighborhood. So
absolutely. Having been to Cuba, I can tell you, I mean, and that's one of the things that Cuba really prides itself on is the beauty of its country, especially in the
mhm.
countryside, where I think, based on what I'm reading here, they are in. I think they're in like the eastern area because that's where most of the mountains are. And he keeps talking about these mountains and these trees and all the palm trees. They've never seen so many palm trees. And it's
Right.
funny, like, you think of one of the big, basically the national anthem of Cuba is the song Guantanamera, and that song is about
Ah.
the area of Guantanamo, which is also in the eastern part of Cuba and a very
Mm.
rural, beautiful kind of mountainous area. And the first line of that song is Yo soy un hombre sincero de donde crecen las palmas. I am a sincere man from the land of the palms. Like he's
Mm.
talking about the land already. Like that's the first thing he asserts, the land of the palms.
Well, I got my palm hat right on my.
Yeah, I got mine in the background here, right? My Scottish palm here.
That's right, man. We gotta represent. Wow. So what's the memory you have when you first went to Cuba? Do you remember
Oh, wow.
your memory of the land?
Yeah, well, I remember the first thing remember that you see I remember seeing out when I was looking out of the plane, right? One of those really little rickety planes that goes from like it was a puddle jumper, basically goes from Miami to Cuba because they're really close, and it's only
Hmm.
just a very small amount of people who are able to travel to Cuba. And so it was just the plane was all just Cubans going back to see their families. I remember a really small little plane, and I looked out and you can see just the water, that really like blue, turquoise blue Caribbean sea water that you don't get anywhere else. And then the
Mm.
contrast of that with just how bright green the land is with all the trees and the mountains, and you see just like that those colors are so like nothing you could ever see anywhere else in the world, I don't think. And when I remember just looking at it and being like, oh wow, like it's just it's so lush, it's so beautiful. It looks like you are like in some kind of Garden of Eden, even like some sort of like
Yeah.
paradise, really. And that's, as I'm reading these journals and the accounts, and that's what they keep kind of comparing it to, right? They're saying like, oh,
Mhm.
it's so beautiful that we can't even describe it. You have to come and see it to really get a sense of what we're talking about. And it's this amazing, just lush and kind of obviously nothing was built there yet other than a few of the little bohios and the villages, right? So it was this
Mhm.
completely untamed land, right? And obviously, Cuba's built up now and everything, but there is still a lot of like really open rural land out in the east, especially. And I think that's why that's probably like Havana's nice and everything. Some of the cities are nice, but I really like being out there, like where you're closer to nature and everything.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I know. It's always a sad part when we have to leave our island, you know? Leave
Yeah, for
that
sure.
beauty, leave the air, leave that water. Well, on hold on a second. Just looking through my notes here. On a Tuesday, the 27th of November, he did say something very interesting. I'd like to know your comments on this. He wrote, how great the benefit that it is to be derived from this country would be, I cannot say. It is certain that where there are such lands, there must be an infinite number of things that will be profitable. So
That's
let's
right.
talk
That's
about
right.
that in a historical context. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes again, same thing I was saying before when he's talking about all these trees. Look at all these trees. They're beautiful and everything, but then he goes straight to, and the great thing about having so many trees is we can build stuff out of them, right? That's what people were building things out of, building ships and that's what
Mhm.
he specifically mentions. You can build the ships. So yeah, he's talking about, yeah, it's beautiful, but he's not just appreciating the beauty just for as it is. He's thinking the beauty must mean, there's profit in this beauty. What can we kind of exploit it for almost at this point, right? He's already
Yeah.
thinking, um, what can they take from it? And obviously we know their big focus was gold and everything. They keep
Mhm.
talking about that, gold and pearls. But he also mentions the spices. He says there's all he's talking about the flora, the plants and everything, and talking about there'll be an infinite number of spices here, all the trees as we mentioned for building, and it really just I think speaks to
Mhm.
where their heads were really at, like yeah they go on and on about how beautiful it is, but in in the long run they're really thinking, right, what can we how can we get profit from this beauty then? How can we exploit this land for
Mhm.
gain, right? For ultimately for conquering and colonizing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I have a good friend who became a Nigerian Yoruba priest. He,
Really? All
yeah,
right.
yeah, he's American. But to complete his training, he had to go to Nigeria, and there he studied under their priest,
Mhm.
and he studied for 4 years. And he was initiated as a priest. And the thing that he told me was, and I never forgot this many years ago, they have their own history class that they have to learn through through the lens of Nigeria. And
All right. Yeah.
and it's funny because when he first told me that, we're so conditioned American education, right?
Mhm.
That so I said, oh, that's interesting. What's their take on history? So he mentioned about Columbus, and in Nigerian history, they talk about that Columbus had a mandate. His mandate was basically, Spain was starving to death. They were going through a famine. They had hope. They put their hope in Columbus that he will find, that route to India. The
Mhm.
spice route. Basically, he was looking for food,
Mhm.
and he was going to be the salvation of Spain. That's why they gave him so much money. They invested in him, and he was crazy enough to promise that he would do this. So, and then he said some other things, but basically it was all about the food. And
I
then,
do remember reading about the spice trade. Like
yeah,
Spain was really wanting to get in on the spice trade.
yeah. But Nigeria's pretty much saying they were starving. They were starving. They needed food. They needed they needed fast. And Columbus promised them that. The
Huh.
charlatan that he is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm
Oh,
like,
oh,
far as I
and
know, Spain wasn't going through a famine. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, the obviously the poor people were always hungry, but I mean, as a
yeah,
country, Spain was,
yeah.
you know, I think I think they were just from what I know, Ferdinand and Isabella, the king and queen of the time, were really wanting to get ahead in that spice trade because of how profitable it was. And we
Mhm.
know that India obviously was kind of leading the spice trade. A lot of the spices came from that part of the world, right? So when Columbus says, "Oh, I can get us to India like faster and easier," they said, "All right, that sounds good, because that's what we
Mhm.
need. We need spice."
Yep. So in Nigerian history, they talk about Ashton was starving to death. It was a
Huh.
famine. So if anyone that knows of that history, please write in the comments section. I'll be interested to see that.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Um,
Interesting. Yeah. The only
yeah.
ones I know
So
about famine for is Ireland, so for that
yeah,
time, but
right.
yeah.
Now let me read this quote in the same passage, the same day. Um, it says, okay, hold on a second. Let me just. Oh, moreover, I have not been able to see much of the natives because they often take the flight. Let me stop right there. So he didn't see much of our people because they ran.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like the Cuban Taino were. They didn't think they were gods. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like we know they were hopping around the islands, right? And hopping around to different parts of the islands too. So obviously, the people they're encountering are, they're different Yucayekes, they're different under different caciques, under like, they're not all, as we know, they're not all the same. They probably have different, slightly different customs and everything from one Yucayeke to the other, one village to another, even. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where he is, from what I can see in the eastern part of Cuba, it seems like these people definitely are a bit more, as opposed to thinking, as we've read, other people, other Tainos that Columbus and his men encountered who thought, oh, they're gods, they come from heaven, they wanted to
Exactly.
welcome them and have them stay. They were kissing their hands and feet, he mentions here. But these people, yeah, I think they were a bit smarter in that sense, right? They were like, no,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want any part of this. I think they had a bit more foresight in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
To say like, no, no, there's something's up here.
Right. And now Columbus writes. Now he's making a promise to God. For now, if our Lord pleases, I will see as much as possible and will proceed by little and little learning and comprehending. And I, Christopher Columbus, will make some of my followers learn the language. For I have perceived that there is only one language up to this point. And after they understand the advantages of that language, I shall labor to make all of these people Christian.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny how he mentions the one language though, because I can tell you for sure in Cuba there were at least two. Obviously, we had the Taino, um,
Mm-hmm.
the main Taino dialect that was spoken by the Taino in the east, the Siboney in the central,
Right.
but then in the far west there was the Guanahatabe people who had we learn later anyway. I think he mentions it at one point, who had their own distinct language because they couldn't them and the Taino couldn't
Mm-hmm.
understand each other. Um, but yeah, it's funny how he talks about, yeah, it's like it's his mission and his duty as a Christian
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Christianize everyone else. And he talks about in earlier parts of this how the people are like perfect for conversion because they're peaceful and they're gentle. They don't have war. He says they don't even understand the sins of murder and theft. Um, but don't worry, they would find out real soon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Columbus was going to teach them all about murder and theft. And so he says, and he mentions also, he says they don't have a religion, which obviously we know isn't true. People had many beliefs, but he said, oh, well, it's not a religion that we can understand or see, so they're ripe for converting, for becoming Christian. And it's like that's part of his duty, right? Obviously, exploit the
Mm-hmm.
land and all its resources and everything for profit, but also he has to Christianize all these people um, forcibly, as we would learn. But he knows he feels like that's his duty to God and as a
Mm-hmm.
Christian man, right?
Definitely. And here's something that he also wrote interesting. An interesting verse here is they will become so readily because they have no religion nor idolatry. It's interesting here. He said no idolatry.
Hmm.
So he's seeing our people like just regular folk. And then he says, Your Highnesses will send orders to build a city and fortress and to convert the people. And I assure your Highnesses that it does not disappear to me that there can be more of a fertile country, nor a better climate under the sun with abundant supplies of water. And he goes on and on, talk about the land once again.
Hmm.
And then yeah, so this is the very beginning. I mean, this is his first. He hasn't been. This is like his month and a half. He's been in the islands, you know.
Right.
So he's all giddy, you know, and he's like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to do this. I want to do that for you, because you gave me all this money, and I'm gonna bring all this money back to you eventually." And Christians, right?
Hmm.
So he's all gone ho. So let me go back to this. Let's go back. Let's say November 27th. Hold on a second. According to the writings, that was a Tuesday. Do you see that?
I,
November
yeah, I see
27th?
Thursday, November 27th November. Yeah.
Okay,
It's talking about
okay.
the rain.
Can you find that part about the old man?
Yeah, yeah. So he's talking about they went to they're kind of exploring, right? And they're going to this another village in the northwest, but found no one and nothing in the houses. So again, people were running away and hiding, it sounds like.
Yep.
On the road, they met an old man who could not run away and caught him. Poor guy, I guess, was too old, couldn't run very fast.
See,
They
that's
told
messed up.
him they did not wish to do him any harm, and gave him a few presents and let him go. The admiral would have liked to have had speech with him, for he was exceedingly satisfied with the delights of that land, and wished that a settlement might be formed there, judging that it must support a large population.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they found, I guess, the one person they were actually able to kind of at least communicate with a bit was this old man that they caught. Um, they said they gave him some presents, doesn't specify, probably a few like trinkets that they said they were always giving them to impress them, like some pepper or cinnamon. And he said he wanted to talk to him more because he said this place is ripe for, like we said, building or establishing colonies, right? Colonizing, creation. This he said he wished that a settlement might be formed here, judging that it must support a large population, which it was. As
Mhm.
we can see, I mean, there were a lot of villages there, but as we were saying, like the people just were too scared to talk to anybody.
Let me tell you, son. I think with that young warrior that left his grandpa behind, he got in trouble. I tell you that right now. He got a cocotazo. Say, how
I
you gonna leave
know, right?
grandpa?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He got the chancla for that. You don't leave your elders behind.
Unless Abuelo said, go ahead. I'll take care of this. You know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe Abuelo was ready to like fight them off or something.
I think that's the theory right there. Or he was the decoy. You know.
Ah, that could be that. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, and it's interesting how they keep saying like, "Oh, we told them we wouldn't harm them and everything." Uh, yeah, funny how that changed real quick, right?
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? But you know what? Let me. Oh wow! Wait a second. You know what? November
Yeah.
27th was very powerful. Hold on a second. I'm looking through my notes here. Um,
What they find in that house, you mean?
yeah, go read that. Can you read that
Yeah.
for us?
So yeah, so they're checking out the houses, right? They're talking about like obviously there's houses, but the people have all fled. They're just, I guess, checking out the empty houses. And it says in one of them, the sailors also found in one house the head of a man in a basket covered with another basket and fastened to a post of the house. They found the same things in another village. The admiral believed that they must be the heads of some founder or principal ancestor of a lineage, for the houses are built to contain a great number of people in each, and these should be relations and descendants of a common ancestor.
Now, I like to dispute that because I don't think he really knew that. I think that came later on. Maybe they edited that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's odd because I mean, obviously we know that we 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 venerated our ancestors and everything, of course. Um,
Right.
but how he could know who it was is difficult, especially if there's nobody there he can talk to and kind of confirm.
Yeah, that's. I think that was redacted later on, right?
Yeah, maybe. But it could be like, if you're keeping, obviously, we know sometimes bones and certain relics belonging to the deceased would be kept, right? Or kept kind of in a sacred place or something. So if it was like a skull or something, and we know our people weren't really like warlike or anything, as we've already discussed, and he keeps saying, they weren't
Mm-hmm.
fighters, they were afraid. I think he's talking about the when he keeps talking about, right, those cannibals, right, that the
Hmm.
Taino are afraid of. I think he's referring to the Caribs or the Locono people,
Hmm.
and they're saying, oh, they're man eaters and we're terrified of them. So I can't imagine it would be the head, obviously, of like an enemy or anything taken in battle. So yeah, it could. I mean, to me, that would make sense that it would be somebody of some importance anyway, at least to the
Yeah.
household that it was found in.
Yeah, I think we're looking at maybe an old cacique
Mhm.
who have
Mhm.
passed on, who was considered, who became a semi, a sacred being because of his experience,
Right.
his loyalty to the people. It's a good example. So that's a little glimpse right there, right? That's awesome.
Yeah,
Of,
exactly.
of having
It's
that.
too bad there wasn't anyone he could have asked more about it. Everybody was hiding at the time, but
It sounds like those Cuban Tainos are smart, because
yeah, yeah.
and,
I
and
think
and
that's why they survived better in the eastern part of the island.
no, and they had a good sense of smell because I couldn't imagine the stench that was.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why they ran away.
But what's interesting though is that this is probably the beginnings of German warfare because of the
Mm.
diseases the Spanish was bringing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It probably killed so many villagers, you know,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
airborne.
they say the theory anyway, the guns, germs, steel theory, obviously the three main
Hmm.
reasons why indigenous people fell to Europeans was, I mean, they say, I think disease was obviously the guns came as well, and there was, a lot of like direct slaughter and murder, as we know, enslavement, but the germs were the first thing, the first big killer, and they say that really wiped out such a huge amount of the population right off the bat without like obviously the Spaniards even trying, they weren't at that
Right,
point, they weren't really
right.
trying to kill anyone. They just um the germs that they brought are from the old world to the new. There was no immunity, no microbiomes or anything in the system of
Hmm.
any of the indigenous people of the Americas. So even things like, just a cold or flu or pneumonia,
Hmm.
and obviously also you have to remember these guys had just been on a ship for months, right? And
Yes.
ships are ripe with diseases, especially of that time, the sheer amount of because we
Tremendous.
know sanitary conditions were terrible in Europe in general at the time, but on a ship even worse. There's rats. There's nobody's really bathing, obviously. There's human waste piling up. They're in crowded, cramped conditions. Everybody's passing everything to everyone. People died like in droves on ships in those days. And I think it's even mentioned that when they tried, they kept saying, "Oh, they want to bring some natives back to Spain, right? They wanted to show them to Spain, to the king and queen, but they would take like hundreds of them, but like just none of them survived the journey, I don't think."
Yeah, exactly, man. It was horrible conditions like that.
Yep, but yeah, that those diseases and everything, that was the big number one killer, I think, at first.
Yeah, I know when the invaders, Spanish invaders went to Mexico, when they got to villages, people already dead because of the
Yeah, so
disease.
there's yeah, isn't that crazy that like, it was already it was kind of like ahead of them almost. Like I always think, that movie Apocalypto,
Mm-hmm.
when like they're going to the one village and then like the whole village is just absolute everyone's dead.
Oh, right.
And they
Yeah, that's from history. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've all got like the pock marks on their faces and everything. So there's like one little girl who's still alive, I think, and you can see she's got the it's what I'm assuming is probably smallpox or some
Yeah.
kind of plague or something. And they're talking about, oh, that the sickness has been through here. And the reason, even in that movie, why they're getting those captives and everything for sacrifice, they talk about, there's people who are sick and dying in droves in their city, right? So they think more sacrifice will heal them or will stop this plague. But
Yeah. It's so sad. Yeah.
yeah.
So sad. Well, we got one other point we want to talk about today, and that is on November 30th. That was
Today,
yesterday.
which is
Wait,
today.
it's
No,
today. Wait, it's today.
yeah, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
November 30th. So, what happened on November 30th? Do you know?
Right, yeah. So again, they're talking about they're going through basically trying going through the villages, but everyone's I guess word spreading real fast that these really smelly strangers are here, right? And everyone's running and hiding. And they see like these four young guys in a field, but as soon as they see them, they run away too, and they can't catch them. But
Oh, they're
then
running fast.
yeah, yeah. They but then it says they marched a long distance and saw many villages and a most fertile land with much cultivation and many streams of water. Near one river they saw a canoe dug out of a single tree, 95 palm trees long and capable of carrying 150 persons. So that's a really big canoe, a really big canoa.
150. Yeah, man. Just last week I was telling we're giving a tour of Manhattan at
Oh
the
yeah, that's
indigenous,
right.
the indigenous
The
influence.
Lenape land, yeah.
Yup. And there's an oral tradition that I learned that the Caribbean islanders used to come up the Atlantic coast in their canoes.
Really?
Yup. And
Wow.
I know the Cherokee Nation in their museum, they have artifacts. And, and you go way up north, up to Newburgh, New York, they found semis up there. So, and then the oral tradition is that the nations up north, they would intermarry with the women, Taino women. So there is oral tradition supporting that these canoes went way up north. So Evan Pritchard just the other day came out with his theory on this, and he'll be presenting this more and more. I believe he's writing a book now on it, on the how the Wapinja people of the north,
Mhm.
and we call like the Napi and so on, were
Mhm.
actually of two two people, the islanders and the northerners. Can you believe it?
Wow.
But we
So they
know as
think there's
Wapinja.
Taino heritage in the Lenape people.
Yep, as fresh off the press. He's gathered his evidence, archaeological evidence. He's gathered some stories. So that's gonna come out soon. I can't wait.
That's so cool, and that's
Yep,
so impressive, right? Because that's a long trip.
yep. I believe
And
10 years ago they tried it in a canoe. They tried it from San Juan, Puerto Rico. That passage. I forget what it's
uh-huh.
called.
Going all the way up the East Coast up to
Like a
like
jet
the
stream, yeah, and it worked.
yeah.
I mean, not a jet stream, a current. I
Yeah.
forget what they call it. It's the Atlantic coast. It's a one-way highway. You can't come back. So that's
Right.
why it makes
Okay.
sense to them come back. So these canoes, 150, man, I'm telling you, with 150 people paddling, you can go up really high places, right?
Yeah, you can travel far distances, and it's funny because they always say, like the image like that Columbus and the other like Europeans and colonizers present is that we were, very simple and primitive people, but I was like, oh, we were building big, ships or big canoes, trend like
Yeah.
again, big enough to hold 150 people. We were traveling not just between
Yep.
the islands, but long distances all the way up to northeastern US. I mean,
There you go. There you
that's
go.
that's impressive, right? Uh, you,
Yep.
that's not what primitive, simple people do.
Well, but I'm gonna give you a little surprise because
Oh boy.
there's another oral history that I learned in the north, right?
Hmm.
And two things. When the Mohawk medicine people allowed their tobacco seeds to be investigated, to be processed, DNA processed for them,
Hmm.
the seed was from Cuba.
Oh, no way.
And this is their ancient tobacco. Okay.
Wow.
So here's another thing. Here's another thing. Here's another thing. There's oral tradition that also states that tobacco came from the Caribbean. So
Right, right.
so check this out. Tuesday, November 6th. This was written in the journal. Two Christians met with many Taino people on the road going home. Men and women with half burned weed in their hands, being the herbs they are accustomed to smoke.
Right, right.
There's your there's your first documented tobacco use right there, man.
Exactly.
I mean
Yeah,
tobacco, holding the herbs, holding that tobacco leaves.
right.
So
I mean, tobacco is a Taino word, far as I know. So,
yeah,
yeah, and it's isn't that like tobacco became one of the biggest commodities of the whole world, right?
yeah,
When the
tobacco.
Europeans saw that and everything, they really got
Mhm.
in on that, and it became such a huge market crop. I mean, of all the market crops in the world, like cotton and everything, I think tobacco was probably the biggest. Um, and yeah, it was discovered and cultivated originally by our people and in our lands. And sounds like from what you're saying, what they found in the among the Mohawk people anyway is that even before the Europeans came along, we were pushing tobacco up into North America too, right?
Yeah. Well, in New York, there's a story about Juan Rodriguez. He was
Hmm.
half Taino, half Spanish, and they say he had tobacco. He worked with the Dutch. He was part of the
All
Dutch
right.
trading company, but he came from Dominican Republic. We know it's Biscaya, but he was in that ship with the Dutch. So I know he had tobacco. So there you go, man. There's a lot of stuff that the Taino people have to offer, right? Historically,
Yeah.
past, present.
Yep.
So all you
Hammocks
Taino out
too,
there,
canoes too. He mentions
yeah.
the hamacas that they're sleeping in. And
Hey, man, we're gonna break all this down. Natalie, thank you so much. I know this is very hard to unpack because this is written by the colonizers, and
hmm.
especially Christopher Columbus. It's hard to read through this stuff and not get angry. But he's given us some key points here about the beauty of the land, the insight into profit that still goes on now, right? It's
Right,
still
right.
going on now, trying to profit off our islands.
Yep.
You know? And and the bravery of that old man, he stood his place. Uh, the introduction of the sacred head, the skull of the ancestors,
Hmm.
and then boom, let's travel. We got the canoe. Let's go for it, right? And,
Exactly.
and look, you're in Scotland. I'm in New York. Hey, we traveled,
Hmm.
man.
Yes, absolutely. We're always been well-traveled people, it looks like.
Yeah, nomads, right? We got that nomadic thing with us
Yeah, for
after,
sure, for sure.
after 1492, definitely. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'd like to close out the show with, man, thank you very much, Natalie, for being here and once again going through the journals. Guess what? Our next show, we're gonna go into December.
Ooh,
December
ooh.
1492 was a tremendous month. Tremendous. So we're gonna have fun with that. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for that. And since it's the last day in November, just want to say, like, to everyone listening, happy final day of Native American Heritage Month, right?
There you go, man. Hey, they give us a bone, right?
Yeah, there you here you go. You get a month.
I'm surprised they kept it, but yeah, you're
Right,
right, man. That's it.
exactly.
Yep, and we're still here, Taino. We're part of the narrative, man. Don't let anyone trick you, or don't let anyone tell you differently. You are indigenous. You are indigenous to those homelands, no matter where you live, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. And don't let
Wepa.
anyone. Yep, Taino Funhouse. We're having fun here. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Natalie, I'll see you soon. All right.
See you soon.
Thank you once again for dedicating
Yes.
your time to the Taino Funhouse podcast. History, our history. Take care.